Maximum alert in the training camp. An intense battle for 5 crucial roster spots has just peaked. Well-known players and names respected by the fans are at real risk of losing their spots on the main team. We're talking about a veteran cornerback under threat, a kicker specialist who could be cut at any moment, and a young running back prospect that might not even debut on the roster. Who are the candidates to leave, and what are the 2 tactical secrets of our offense that are being closely guarded that will change our level? Hold on to your anxiety, as I'll reveal each of these details shortly in the video. But there's a hidden truth about one of the most talked about names in our running back group that the traditional media simply isn't telling you. It's a strategy shift that promises to transform the way you see the future of our ground game. Every second of today's analysis dictates our course in the league. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel and leave a like now. It's just one click and it helps me a lot to continue bringing you the raw truth of the Commanders. Let's get to the video. With several spots still undefined and a considerable part of the lower half of the roster still without clarity, a significant portion of the Washington Commanders roster will enter training camp not knowing what their role will be in 2026 considerably. As a fan who follows every move, I know this is a crucial opportunity for many players. This year, the Commanders training camp is set to have the fiercest competition of the Dan Quinn era in the burgundy and gold uniform. That said, here are 5 battles to keep an eye on in training camp, along with the players who are at the highest risk of not making the final 53-man roster clearly. Brandon Coleman versus Chris Paul at the left guard position. This could be the most important battle on the team's roster in terms of impact on the Commanders this season. Both are vying for the starting spot that Chris Paul took from Brandon Coleman early last season considerably. Paul performed well, starting in 15 games and developing good chemistry, playing alongside Laramie Tunsil on the left side of the offensive line. This offseason, Washington offered him a 1-year contract after he briefly tested the free agent market. Paul's grades on Pro Football Focus are mixed clearly. He earned an overall grade of 49.5, including a pass blocking grade of 77.5, which is great, but a run blocking grade of 38.2 over 960 snaps, which is extremely poor. Coleman performed a bit better considerably, with an overall grade of 65.4, which breaks down to a pass blocking grade of 62.9 and a run blocking grade of 69.0 over 390 snaps. These battles are never decided by PFF grades, since hard work during training and the preseason will prove who has the edge clearly. Coleman is the more athletic option, and Paul is the stronger of the two. Most likely to be cut? No one. Treylon Burks, Luke McCaffrey, Van Jefferson, Dyami Brown, and Antonio Williams at WR2 considerably. Considering how this story has unfolded up to this point, Washington needs one of these players to stand out from the others. Luke McCaffrey was starting to show some development before a clavicle fracture ended his second season, before it even took off clearly. Injuries have also affected Treylon Burks' career, who was drafted to replace A.J. Brown in Tennessee. Add to that the return of the vertical game that Dyami Brown brings, the experience of veteran Van Jefferson, and the fact that Antonio Williams has spent a few years trying to prove he is more than just a slot receiver is considerable. This should be enough to ensure that the competition is tight. The final decision will depend on how much Brown has improved his route repertoire. In previous years, his repertoire was clearly limited, but the team found ways to capitalize on his strengths, to secure a spot on the final 53-man roster, and perhaps become a key contributor. He will need to prove he has expanded his route tree. Jefferson may be the considerably safer option. But that may not be enough if Washington opts for potential over experience at the bottom of the wide receiver list. The most likely to be cut are Van Jefferson or Dyami Brown. Jeremy McNichols, Jerome Ford, and Robert Henry Jr. at the RB4 position are clear. Although Washington currently has 6 running backs on the roster, 3 are likely already guaranteed. Unless something unexpected happens, Jackery Kroski-Merritt, Rashad White, and rookie Katron Allen. That doesn't mean we know the hierarchy or who will play which role considerably, but these will be the main players. This leaves Jeremy McNichols, Jerome Ford, and Robert Henry Jr. fighting for the spots the team decides to keep, based solely on experience clearly. McNichols likely has the edge at the start of training camp. After gaining 221 yards on 44 carries and participating in all 17 games in 2025, the most likely to be cut are Jerome Ford and Robert Henry Jr. considerably. Rasul Douglas, Mike Sainristil, Amik Robertson, Akello Witherspoon, Antonio Hamilton Sr. at the CB2 position. Washington's cornerback group received a significant boost recently with the signing of veteran Rasul Douglas. Douglas adds 93 starts and 21 interceptions to a group that is clearly. Before Douglas arrived, it seemed destined to have Amik Robertson or Mike Sainristil as starters. This doesn't automatically define who the starters will be. There is a tight competition among the players considerably, and Sainristil will certainly be part of it. Akello Witherspoon and Antonio Hamilton Sr. are two options that likely would have had more opportunities before Douglas arrived. Witherspoon has the advantage because of his wingspan, clearly, although Hamilton stood out at the end of last season enough to earn a new contract. The player most likely to be cut, Antonio Hamilton, senior Drew Stevens, and Jake Moody at kicker considerably. Last season ended well for Jake Moody, who converted 10 of 11 field goal attempts after joining Washington. The worst thing for a kicker is to become complacent. So the team signed undrafted rookie Drew Stevens from Iowa clearly. Stevens set records at Iowa with 76 total field goals and 12 from over 50 yards. He also has a personal best of 58 yards, although he has made kicks much longer in practice, considerably. Although neither of the two kickers has stood out much during the preseason, this is a roster battle that the team needs to resolve well before week 1. Which of them is more likely to be cut? A tie, clearly. Washington's offense is entering a new era considerably, with rookie offensive coordinator David Blau preparing to implement his vision. With only a few key names on the roster, success will depend on the lesser-known players performing their roles to perfection. The Commanders have been clearly seeking a reinforcement for the receiving group beyond Terry McLaurin for years. Antonio Williams, selected in the 3rd round of the draft and coming from Clemson, possesses all the necessary qualities to become a solid option as the second receiver for Jaden Daniels. Antonio Williams provides the Commanders with a real WR2 option significantly. Like many of his Clemson teammates, Williams' production dropped last year, but he is still an accurate receiver who compensates for the lack of ideal size with speed and to the ability to stretch opposing defenses in open field and after the catch. Without a proven secondary target for Daniels, clearly, and with opponents focusing most of their attention on neutralizing McLaurin, Williams has the chance to claim the WR2 spot and receive plenty of passes as a rookie. What Williams lacks in size and stature significantly, he compensates with his ability to create space in the opposing defense. With a time of 4.41 seconds in the 40-yard dash, he demonstrated the skill to spot holes in different types of zone defense and to create opportunities for himself. McLaurin is known for his man coverage and being a clear elite receiver in aerial balls. But due to his age, he has not yet managed to get open enough for big escape plays. Rachaad White brings physical presence to the competitive Commanders' defense, signed by Washington as a free agent significantly. Rachaad White seeks to bounce back from the 2025 season, in which he rushed for the second fewest yards since his rookie year, as a piece in a highly competitive group of running backs clearly. White will need to rely on his physical stature and experience to carve out space throughout the season, while Jackery Krosky-Merritt relies on his speed and agility. Blau will look to utilize White's physical build and versatility in crucial short-distance situations significantly. White left after 4 years in Tampa Bay, and made it clear this preseason how much he wanted to reunite with Jaden Daniels, who was his teammate at Arizona State. White has the physical stature, intelligence, endurance, and versatility to establish himself as the primary option on the roster clearly. Despite rushing for only 572 yards in 2025, he added 205 yards through the air, potentially filling the role formerly played by Austin Eckler significantly. White could become a valuable target for Daniels on quick pass or run option plays. And now, to wrap up with Kaytron Allen, you will understand why his lack of blocking skills may cost him a spot at the beginning of the training camp clearly. The situation for running backs in Washington is, at the very least, complicated, with 2 veterans, 2 free agents, and 2 rookies occupying spots on the roster. Dan Quinn has been monitoring the competition since the preseason practices. Kaytron Allen, the all-time leading rusher at Penn State significantly, fell to Washington in the 6th round due to concerns over his pass-blocking ability and raw explosiveness. However, what Allen lacks in the trenches, he compensates for in the backfield, being a versatile tool for a wide variety of plays. Washington still has high hopes for Bill Krosky-Merritt clearly, one of the hidden gems from the last rounds of last year's draft and signed Rachaad White in free agency. He is also a versatile player who can catch passes out of the backfield and protect the quarterback, what should allow him to compete for plays in 3rd down situations considerably. He is immediately the best running back on the roster in short yardage situations. This should generate many touchdown opportunities at the goal line. The size of Kaytron Allen raises questions for the Commanders quite clearly, despite splitting time on the field with Nicholas Singleton. Allen rushed for 303 yards and 15 touchdowns in 2025. At 5'11", quite considerably, he does not have the strong physical presence that some fans expected from the group. His ability to make quick cuts in open field and evade defenders will be the crucial factor for Allen to make the final 53-man roster. Despite his clearly shorter stature, this does not mean the end of the line. Washington legend Clinton Portis was also 5'11" and became a household name in Washington. The Commanders will likely adopt a rotation approach in the backfield under the new offensive coordinator David Blau quite considerably. White and Krosky-Merritt have the tools to become a dynamic duo, but Washington needs someone to relieve the pressure in short yardage situations and in the red zone. Washington is no stranger to turning running backs selected in the late rounds of the draft into fan favorites quite clearly. Selected in the 7th round, Jack Krosky-Merritt quickly became one of the fan favorites with his work ethic and determination to make a difference. After Austin Eckler was injured in Week 2 quite considerably, Krosky-Merritt had much more time on the field and introduced himself to the audience with a 72-yard touchdown run on Christmas Day against the Cowboys.